Imagine your child sneaks out one night, a normal, carefree teenager. You think she's safe, asleep in her bed. But by morning, her room is empty. Her phone's dead. Her best friends swear she's fine. Then weeks turn into months, and the truth finally surfaces. The people she trusted most were the ones who led her to her death. This isn't just a story about murder. It's about betrayal so cold, so senseless, it still haunts an entire town to this day. Her name was Skylar Neese. She was 16 years old, and she never came home. Star City, West Virginia, population 1,800. A sleepy little town surrounded by green hills and narrow backroads. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. People left their doors unlocked, waved at passing cars, and believed bad things only happened somewhere else. Skylar Neese grew up right in the heart of it. To anyone who met her, she was the kind of teenager parents bragged about: smart, responsible, loyal. A straight-A student with big dreams. She worked part-time at Wendy's, loved reading, and filled her free time with movies, sleepovers, and late-night chats with her two best friends Sheila 80 and Rachel Schoaf. They were inseparable. The kind of friendship people post about online: all smiles, hugs, and inside jokes. On social media, it looked like a perfect teenage trio. But behind those bright smiles, something dark was festering. In early 2012, subtle cracks began to appear. Skylar's once light-hearted tweets started to sound different, more cryptic, sharp-edged, even angry. Sick of being betrayed by people who act like they care. Too bad I trusted you. Her parents thought it was just typical teenage drama. But those tweets hinted at a growing tension between the three girls. Sheila was loud, confident, the leader of the group. Rachel was quieter, easily influenced, desperate to belong. And Skylar, well, she was the glue holding them together until she wasn't. As the summer approached, the dynamic shifted. Sheila and Rachel began hanging out without Skylar, leaving her feeling isolated. Still, she tried to keep the friendship together, unaware that her two best friends were harboring thoughts darker than anyone could imagine. It was a warm Friday night, July 6, 2012. Skylar worked her evening shift at Wendy's and came home around 10 p.m. She watched a little TV, said goodnight to her parents, and went to her room. By midnight, she quietly opened her window, slipped outside, and climbed into the back seat of a silver Toyota sedan waiting just down the street. It was Sheila's car. Rachel sat in the passenger seat. The security camera across the street caught one final, grainy image: Skylar stepping into the car, smiling faintly. Then, the taillights disappeared into the darkness. She never came back. When Skylar's parents woke up, they thought she'd gone to school early. But when she didn't return home that evening, panic set in. Mary, her mother, called all her friends. No one had seen her. Then she called Sheila. Sheila sounded calm, almost too calm. "Oh yeah," she said casually. "We hung out last night, but we dropped her off at the end of her street around midnight. She didn't want to wake you up." It made sense. Maybe she'd gone to a friend's place. But when she didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up for her shift at Wendy's, something was terribly wrong. That night, her parents filed a missing persons report.
At first, police treated it like a runaway case. Skylar was 16, maybe she'd gone off with friends for the weekend. But her father, Dave, refused to believe that. Skylar had left her contact lenses, her phone charger, and her toothbrush behind, things she never went without. He began knocking on doors himself, handing out flyers, calling local news stations. The only clue was that surveillance footage showing Skylar climbing into a car. When detectives asked Sheila and Rachel about it, they stuck to their story. They picked her up, drove around, and dropped her off a few blocks from home. But something about their tone didn't sit right. Rachel kept glancing at Sheila before answering. Sheila giggled nervously, acting as if the whole thing was a minor misunderstanding. Detectives noticed. As the months dragged on, the case grew colder. Then came an unexpected break: phone records. The girls' cell towers didn't match their story. Instead of being near Skylar's neighborhood at midnight, their phones pinged in a rural area near the Pennsylvania border 40 minutes away. Confronted with the evidence, Sheila insisted there must be a mistake. Rachel stayed quiet. By winter, the pressure was too much for Rachel to bear. On December 28, 2012, her mother called 911, reporting that her daughter was hysterical, screaming, sobbing uncontrollably. When police arrived, Rachel finally confessed. "We stabbed her," she said. "We both did." Detectives froze. Why? One asked. "We just didn't like her anymore." Rachel told them everything. That night, she and Sheila had planned Skylar's murder for weeks. They packed knives and shovels. They picked her up like nothing was wrong, laughing. Rachel told them everything. That night, she and Sheila had planned Skylar's murder for weeks. They packed knives, cleaning supplies, and shovels. They picked her up like nothing was wrong, laughing, joking, listening to music. They drove to a secluded spot across the Pennsylvania border, a familiar hangout they'd used before. When they got out of the car, Skylar laughed and said, "Let's go for a walk." Then Sheila counted. 1, 2, 3. They lunged. Skylar screamed, fighting with everything she had, but it was 2 against 1. When it was over, she lay silent under the stars. Next day, they texted Skylar's parents, asking if she was okay. Rachel's confession wasn't enough. Detectives needed proof. Snow covered the ground where Rachel said Skylar was buried, making it impossible to search. Months passed. Then, in January 2013, the snow melted. Officers combed through the woods, and there, beneath a pile of decaying leaves and twigs, they found human remains. DNA confirmed what everyone feared. It was Skylar. Her parents were devastated. Mary collapsed when she heard the news. Dave stood silently, staring at the floor, unable to speak. For 9 months, they'd held out hope their daughter was alive. Now, that hope was gone.
On May 1, 2013, police arrested Sheila Eddy at a local restaurant. Even as she was handcuffed, she smiled, asking casually, "What's this about?" Her tweets leading up to the arrest were chilling. "We really did go on 3. No one on this earth can handle me and Rachel." As detectives dug deeper, they found notebooks, letters, and online messages between the girls showing their growing hatred for Skylar. There was no reason, no fight, no jealousy, no money. Just cruelty. Rachel pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Sheila was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life. In court, the judge called the crime cold, calculated, and senseless. During sentencing, Rachel broke down in tears, saying, "No words can describe the pain I caused." Sheila showed no emotion. She stared forward, expressionless, as Skylar's parents read their victim impact statement. Mary's voice shook. "You didn't just kill our daughter, you killed part of us, too." Dave simply said, "I hope you never see daylight again." Skylar's death shocked America. How could 2 honor students, from good families, commit something so monstrous? Experts called it a thrill kill, a murder without motive, born out of peer pressure and teenage psychopathy. In the aftermath, the Neese family fought to change state law. In 2013, Skylar's law was passed requiring immediate public alerts for any missing child, not just those believed abducted. It ensured no other family would face the same delay they did. Today, the forest where Skylar was killed stands eerily quiet. A small cross marks the spot. Flowers wilt, rain falls, but her memory endures. Her parents still live in the same house. The window she climbed out of remains shut, untouched since that night. Mary keeps Skylar's room exactly as it was bed-made, posters on the wall, clothes still folded neatly in the closet. Dave says sometimes he dreams of her laughing, teasing, just like before. "I hear her voice," he said once, "and I know she's okay now." Skylar Neese believed she was meeting her best friends. She never imagined she was walking into her own death. What happened that night wasn't just murder, it was betrayal, in its purest, coldest form. And perhaps that's the scariest part of all. Sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who hide the darkest intentions. This is Skylar's story, one that should never be forgotten. If you found this story powerful, share it. Skylar's story reminds us that true evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it smiles right beside you.